Welcome to another edition of Ego on Break, and this time not the madman, but the muscle of Boot Boy of the Boot Boys, Mr. Boot Boy Bubbler. What's going on, sir?
Sponsored by Protein and Pop-Tarts.
Yes, sir. You got to have those protein and Pop-Tarts.
That's right.
And unofficial, not official, super, maybe if they wanted to be Crystal's sponsor here we got going on. So,
but I didn't eat any carbs.
No carbs for Mr. Bubs.
I may have snuck one piece of bread in there, but
did you really?
Who's to tell?
Who's to tell? Well, you had 87 Crystals, so I mean, this guy ordered 2 sackfuls and only ate meat.
That's right.
Threw all the bread away.
That's right. That's what you gotta do, man.
You might have got him half price if you said, "Hey, if y'all keep the bread, can I get half price?"
I've tried that before, but these restaurant chains, they just try to stick it to you.
Yeah, they're more like, we don't know what button to press to make that happen.
Right. With their $15 an hour they want.
Yeah. So today on Ego on Break, let's talk about the MMA wrestling relationship, the influx of the style of MMA to wrestling, and vice versa, the style of wrestling into MMA. I know you train in both, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess there's no better expert than you.
Well, there you go.
So,
well, I mean, MMA has adopted the pro wrestling business model, right, essentially, and which a lot of things has, and you can go throughout history and look at all the sporting events have adopted the pro wrestling business model, but MMA has really done it to a certain extent. I mean, you can look at the recent Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather phenomenon that's going on. And it's just pure a pro wrestling.
Yeah, it's all marketing and talking crap. So
you know, those guys are going to make a bunch of money, and for 12 rounds, and that's all the people are coming to see. And it's all, they're not. More people are excited necessarily about their fighting ability. They're excited because 2 guys are talking up a fight.
Right.
So they're still on that side. From pro wrestling, the entertainment side, and putting it in and becoming successful about it.
Yeah, because I mean, in essence, the fight could be one punch.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
From either side,
and that's happened before.
Yeah,
that happened. Connor, and since we're on the subject of him, he fought a guy named Jose Aldo. They did a world tour twice. They went the first time they set out to fight. They did a world tour. They went to a bunch of different cities to host press conferences, hype the fight. The fight didn't happen. Aldo pulled out, broken rib, and so they ended up doing it again. They put $1 million of advertisements and press conferences and videos and stuff out there again, and then the fight lasted 13 seconds. He walked in the ring, threw a punch, knocked him out. I mean, it was that, and I was so. After all, they probably spent $10 million advertisement press conference, 13 seconds. That's the only difference between why pro wrestling's more successful.
In wrestling, that would have been a 2-hour draw.
Right, you know.
We would have worked around.
There wouldn't have been a pull out in the first place.
No, they would have been like, "Hey, don't hit me in the ribs, and we'll go at it."
So I mean, definitely on the business side, you see where people use pro wrestling as a platform to run their company. But now, as you see, MMA as the actual sport itself is being influxed into. That's a big word, influxed.
Yeah, it's a very big word.
I don't even know if that's real. Yeah. I just said
I like it.
We'll just go for it. But it influxed into people's repertoire. I mean, you see Daniel Bryan when he was throwing the
like the strikes,
the kicks to the chest. Taker, I think, was the first.
I'm not gonna say first, because I mean, a version of it's always been there. You know, because everybody, you know, you didn't tap them out, but you made them give up. You know, so, I mean, there was always that, but he was probably the first guy to really push it on the main stage.
Or you could say Taz in ECW.
Yeah.
Because when Taz was doing that in ECW, he was Undertaker still the dead man gimmick.
Right.
So Taz was doing the judo throws. I think he was the first guy to make people actually tap out
with a choke or whatever.
So, I mean, it started back in 97.
And I mean, well, you know, pro wrestling was the original MMA.
Right.
Like, if you go back to the beginning, it was pull somebody out of the crowd and you fight them. You know? The only thing is we stack the odds in our favor. You know?
Right.
So I mean, wrestling was not always what it is today, where you think everything's so choreographed, so fixed, so fake, whatever, that, you know, there's not people touching. Like, it's crazy to me because you'll see guys get punched and their teeth fall out.
Right.
And guys go, oh, well, those must have been fake teeth.
Yeah, those were planted there.
You know,
by God, they were planted there.
Or, you know, you fall off the top of a ladder onto the concrete.
But he knows how to fall.
Yeah, he knows how to fall. You know, the secret's out. Knowing how to fall means don't land on your head.
Right.
There's your secret.
Yeah,
you know,
tucking your chin is not.
Concrete is still concrete, whether you land
your
feet
body
first or
feels on
head
it.
first.
Right.
You know,
and it's like a lot of things, and just to talk more on that, the whole I've trained MMA and I've trained boxing for I think 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Not to knock any of those guys, and I know we were training, and I was never had like a professional fight or anything.
Right.
So they weren't trying to knock me out, but I've never been knocked out in any of those scenarios. I've been kicked in the head. I've been punched in the face. I mean,
been
pretty
knocked
hard.
out.
but in pro wrestling is the first time I've ever been like unconscious.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wasn't like sleeping, but I was out of my. I didn't know where I was.
Yeah, the lights were on, but nobody was home.
Right. I mean, I finished the match, but I didn't know if we won or not. I didn't know what the ending was.
Yeah.
People were in the back. When I finally came around, people were telling me, and I was like, "Why am I up here?" And
Thought I was in the ring.
yeah, how did I climb the stairs to get to the back?
Daggone days of rage.
Yeah, hit me with a clothesline in the eye.
Yeah,
those guys.
But yeah, like I know a lot of guys are now basing. You know, there's wrestlers that base their style around MMA. Like I discovered a guy the other day, and I don't even know much about him, but his name is Dominic Greeny, I think. A little shooter, man. Like, his whole style was based off of MMA, you know, and you've got Samoa Joe, who in essence based his style off of MMA. And I think, like, UFC started, you know, guys had styles. They were boxers, they were, you know, wrestlers, they were whatever, insert type of martial arts here. But now you don't find guys that are, oh, I'm this type of fight. You know what I mean?
Right.
You have a striker, you have a submission, but, like, you don't have a guy that's strictly a, you know, jiu-jitsu guy, or a guy that's strictly a kickboxing guy, like where MMA started. I think the well-roundedness comes from being able to be in there with anybody,
Right.
you know, and having the, having the chance to win, and that's more of that wrestling. Like, you have wrestlers that can wrestle anything from a midget to a giant and still put on a believable fight, you know.
And I think for me, what I always loved about wrestling is the guys, the illusion of, oh, I'm pretty sure that hurt.
Yeah.
Or I'm pretty sure, you know, what he's doing there, you know, this all may be a work or whatever, but that guy's really hitting it.
Yeah.
Like, he's really hurting.
Wrestling may be fake, but I'm real.
Yeah. Those are the ones I could they're easier to get behind for me. And I think the putting the two together, it's always just been really successful, because I mean, wrestling is, a lot of people don't think, it's more real than it.
Oh yeah, it's realer than you think it is.
Right. And the guys in it are real. And I had a guy training with me the other day in MMA. He was like, you know, I've always respected wrestlers, and this is an MMA guy talking to me. He said, I've always respected wrestlers because when I get in a cage, I can control kind of what's going to happen.
Right.
Right. And I can too, in a sense, but he's like, you know what you sign up for. You're expecting to feel pain.
Right.
I go in there to try to prevent to feel pain. You go in there expecting to feel pain. So I mean, that is a big distinction between the two. You know, those guys go in there, they try to prevent it. We come in and kind of accept it.
Yeah, because you've probably never heard an MMA guy go up to his, you know, to the guys fighting and go, hey, make sure you punch me really hard.
Right.
You know? So,
you know, at right here.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's conversation you've heard in wrestling. Hey, if we're going to do this shot, make sure you get me good. I don't want people to think it's fake.
Right. Well, you know, if you kick me, you know, I want you to kick me. All right. For me, I like it snug. Like,
yeah.
You know, it's hard for me to be, you know, the performer I can be, and you hit me with something and I don't feel it, then I'm not an actor.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do Shakespeare, nor do I know how to spell his name. But,
yeah.
So if you're gonna hit me, at least hit me.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys oblige. They don't.
Oh
mind.
yeah, they don't. I'm a smaller guy, and I don't want to be hit hard. But if you want to get hit hard, I don't mind hitting you hard.
Right.
You probably can't have that conversation. You're training to have your first fight. You probably can't go up to the guy you're gonna fight and go, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna hit you very hard because I respect you, but I want you to lay it in.
Right.
It's not.
Well,
happening.
is it? I mean, I look at when I got knocked out in the match against Days of Rage. Is it a bad thing that a guy, because in wrestling or just in a normal fighting situation, a guy gets knocked down and out periodically throughout the thing. So is it necessarily a bad thing that a guy experiences a clothesline to the head and doesn't know where he is and he's got a little blood? I mean, that's what you expect.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm watching this as real, if I'm sitting here as a fan watching that, I'm like, oh, okay, these guys really don't like each other.
And the difference is, in UFC, if your lights are on and nobody's home, the ref stops the match.
Right.
In wrestling, you got to dig down deep.
You just got to find a way.
Find a way and get through what you've got going.
Right.
But I like the aspect that I think eventually there's going to get a blurred line where you won't know one from the other.
Well, I think Jim Cornette says that Dana White's the best pro wrestling promoter in the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, like anything can be, wrestling. If I say, hey, this is how tonight's event's going to go, and you go out there and beat the crap out of each other.
Well, in Pride,
what's the difference?
Right.
So in essence, UFC could be the same way.
There was a organization that did MMA in Japan, and they got caught doing things for Gazy in the back. Matter of fact, Alberto Del Rio, or what's the other name he goes by?
El Patron.
El Patron or whatever but that guy, he actually did some fights over in Japan, and he was under a hood at one point.
He was Dos Casas
and
Jr., I think.
I think it was where that he took some dives for some guys.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean,
well, let me ask you this:
what better guy to do it, right?
Well, yeah. But I'm just saying, if you're like, hey, you can make this much money, and potentially get your brain smashed in for 6 minutes, or you can take this much money and you can pretend to get your brain in 2 minutes. So, hey, I'll go out there and lose.
Go back to the Conor and thing, Floyd thing. If you think they're gonna go out there and try to knock each other's heads off, you're crazy. Because for $10 million, I think we're gonna make 12 rounds, and we're both gonna get there as best as possible. They might. I mean, I might be wrong. They might go out there and try to defeat
I feel
each
like
other.
there's gonna be some filling out process at first,
right?
And then you may get a little good, some good little shots in the second. Third is gonna be a little more standoffish. Fourth you get a little bit. I don't think it's gonna go 12 rounds, but I think you're gonna get 3 to 5 rounds out of it.
Right.
And the 5th round is gonna be okay. We've danced around enough. We've gave them their money's worth. Now let's finish up whatever we're gonna do. And I figure that 5th round is gonna, 5th round is gonna be hard hitting. And you're gonna see one of them fall down and the other one not get stand up with his hand up.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be a tapping situation.
If we're booking the thing, I would say you put Conor over because Floyd's retiring. Why not make a new king? From a wrestling standpoint to it.
If I'm booking it, we're getting round 2.
Oh, no doubt. I'd say okay. I like where you're going. So let's just say this: if you
12 round draw,
we'll have it go 12 rounds. Make it look like Floyd won because he's a boxing guy. He should make it look like he won. Screw him over. Get the judges to say Conor won. Then get Floyd stepped into an octagon and make him do MMA.
Right.
And then whatever happens.
And then that goes to a draw, and we have it at WrestleMania in 2 years.
That's right.
And that way we get all 3 areas covered.
There you go. Stick them both in a wrestling match. Stick the 2 guys in a wrestling match. Make them perform there.
Yeah.
And you'll know who really is the best. Let's get them out of their comfort zone a little bit. But I think Vince McMahon said it best. He said, you can't really promote anything well without knowing the outcome. I think that was a quote he said.
I mean, you can promote that it's happened, and you can't build on what happened from there without knowing what's going to happen next.
I mean, and that's. I mean, you look at the numbers. I don't think boxing or MMA has ever drew 100 million to anywhere. And a lot of people think that was just WrestleMania. That WrestleMania wasn't the first time that's seen 100 million fans.
Yeah, I mean they regularly sell out venues and break records.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they've been doing it since, the
beginning of time. Mm-hmm.
They used to fill baseball stadiums. They used to fill. I know Fenway Park.
Yeah.
Held a bunch of big events, and I mean it's just that model of competition. That business model is just more successful than when you don't know who's going to win.
Right. Let's fantasy book. So we've got, if you were going to pick opponents, wrestling opponents, one to take on Floyd, one to take on Conor, who we're doing?
Well, Floyd had the match with Big Show.
Yep. So, are you saying rematch?
We can get another. I think we can get something out of that. Another one out of that one. Big Show slimmed down. Yeah. You can say
power of the punch. Now I'm ready. I've been ever since you knocked me out. I've been hitting the gym.
Well, it was like that, and Floyd had all his handlers. I'd stick them in a cage.
Yeah.
Because the first time they went, Floyd had 85 bodyguards get beat up.
We got Ezekiel Jackson out of that though.
We did. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great gift to the wrestling world. But so you get so I'd stick those two in a cage. That would draw money.
Yeah.
Conor, Sheamus for obvious reasons. For
although Sheamus is probably 8 times his size.
Yeah.
Like
well, then you got the Conor was calling out Brock for a minute, and then Brock came out and said, I take poops bigger than you.
I would. That'd probably be the first MMA match I ever bought, though. If that was the
well, that would
case.
Just be. I don't think Floyd has enough power to knock out a big that size man. I mean, maybe if he kicked him.
Yeah.
But he had trouble knocking out a 170-pound man. So Brock walks around at 300. So.
Do you think Conor could take Brock?
I think he'd point him to death. If they got into an MMA fight, I think Conor would point unless if Brock took him down, it'd be over.
Yeah.
That 300-pound frame on that 145-pound frame is not going to end well.
Right. So we kind of put over who we are and where we're at, and you can find us that kind of thing. But let's do one more kind of fantasy. Is there anybody from MMA history that you would like to see in a versus a boxer from history? And vice versa? Would you?
I would have loved to seen Mike Tyson in those 4-ounce gloves back in the day. He was so ferocious, and the hand speed of that guy. He would throw the lead hook and the uppercut at such a great speed for his size. Mm-hmm. And he did it in the boxing gloves. Imagine him putting on the little gloves, throwing at that speed. I think him versus anybody.
Who would you do though?
Him and Brock would have been a big thing because Brock's just a name on its own, and then you got Mike Tyson coming together. I mean that's a big deal. Tyson versus John Jones, who's the current 205 champion.
205 Live.
It's hard. Those guys look a whole lot bigger in the light heavyweight division than they do on 205 Live. I don't know. But so let's see, who Muhammad Ali and I don't know. It's difficult.
GSP.
Yeah, but that would be a boring. That'd be boring.
I don't know who that is.
GSP is he's a Canadian, so he talks like that. He's got the accent thing going.
Or I knew who GSP
and he's
was.
not a very entertaining fighter. I mean, he's good. He hits you with jabs and takes you down and lays on you. He's a good fighter, and he wins, but it's just not very exciting.
I just know it because of the Cliff Compton story of being GSP's picture being on the poster for him
Lord.
in Nigeria.
I could get the Fitty Westerman, the guy from Germany.
I don't know who that is.
Remember the weird guy that was hitting me up on Messenger? I get him go against GSP. Get two weirdos.
All right, we'll wrap this up here. What you got coming up?
Got the Hideaway, August 26th. And I think we got something in Revolt, September 9th, in Alberta. So right now that's it. So
September 15th at Hideaway as well. It's Friday night.
September 15th. Oh, look there. September 15th, Hideaway.
Yep.
So the 26th, the 9th, and the 15th.
Yeah, so check out Pro Wrestling Ego at the Hideaway, August 26th, September 15th. Check out Revolt in Alberta, Alabama. When?
September 9th.
September 9th. And check out, hey, my kid is doing a wrestling action figure
Very entertaining
show. Check out the Lincoln Live show on YouTube. He's on his 3rd episode. We get to see Sin Cara take on Rey Mysterio today. It just uploaded today. So check that out. And
little quick bit on that. He
right.
actually inspired me to play with wrestling toys again.
Awesome.
Watching, they had some jobber bought a bunch of wrestling toys
he did.
at the show last weekend, and so I stole them for a second and started playing with them. So thank you, Lincoln, for
and a
inspiring
little
me.
tad bit is we had the debut of a ring on the Lincoln Live show. So no more wrestling on top of a box. Later, guys.
Later.